Welcome to episode 43 of Book Nerd Paradise, where we get to know an author as they tell us one of their favorite quotes, read from their work, pose a trivia question, and give away a book or two. Hi, I'm LRW Lee, author of the Andy Smithson Epic Fantasy Adventure Series, and I am super excited that Book 5, Vision of the Griffin's Heart, will be available in just 9 days. Yes, at long last, 9 days. So if you want, here's a little teaser. So if you don't want to wait 9 days, you can pre-order on Amazon, and what I will do is send you the first 16 chapters of 20 so that you can pretty much figure out what's going on before everybody else. All you have to do is send your receipt to book5giveaway@gmail.com, and I will forward you the first 16 chapters. How's that for a deal? Okay, so today I also have a treat for you because we welcome YA fantasy author A.R. Silverberry as our guest. So A.R. writes fiction for adults as well as children. He says he felt the call of a creative life as far back as he can remember. In his teens and 20s, he played in rock and jazz bands and competed on the piano in a few local classical music competitions. He took up painting watercolors in his 30s, but it seems as if he's been dreaming up stories since childhood when, before he was old enough to write, he and his mother stole away to a secret place where he dictated a story. Or more than one, I should say. His love for fantasy fiction was sparked by a babysitter who, with seemingly endless supply of Oz books, read him to sleep. Fairy tales, Tolkien, and the spine-tingling tales of Robert E. Howard sealed the deal. In 1976, he graduated magna cum laude with a BA in music from Dominican College of San Rafael and earned a PhD in psychology in 1981. He now treats children and adults, which he's been doing since 1991. He began writing seriously in 1998 with Wyndano's Cloak, his first novel, which has won multiple awards, including the Benjamin Franklin Award, Gold Medal for juvenile/young adult fiction. He lives in California, where the majestic coastline, trees, and mountains inspire his writing. Please join me in welcoming A.R. Silverberry.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I would like to, however, introduce the real A.R. Silverberry. I think I'm only a poor fake compared to this beautiful fellow right here.
Wow. So
yes.
This is the real A.R. Silverberry, huh?
He's a cat of 1,000 names, sometimes known as Mr. Caboodles, the Squabbit, and my favorite recent one is catecholamine. Yes, that is a neurotransmitter. And this is his first time on international television.
Very good, very good. Well, welcome A.R. Silverberry. How's that? Be it version 1 or version 2, how's that?
Well, I think we might have to call him A.R. Silver Furry.
There we go. There we go. That's great. I like that. We have A.R. Silverberry and A.R. Silver Furry. Yes. You'll be reading from your award-winning YA fantasy novel, Wyndano's Cloak. So that we can get a feel for the book, would you give us a brief synopsis?
A sinister shapeshifter threatens to shatter Jen's world and the kingdom of Heirdom. She has one chance to stop them. With a magical cloak, too dangerous to use. If you enjoy page turners with secrets, riddles, mystery, treachery, and intrigue, you'll enjoy Wyndano's Cloak.
Ooh, okay. A little, as you say, mystery and intrigue. Well, this could be a very interesting reading that we hear this morning. Okay. A.R., you've selected a favorite quote, or I guess in your case, you've decided to do 2. So if you would share those with us and then tell us why they're favorites.
So I've got 2 quotes. The first is from Mark Twain. Kindness is the language which the deaf can hear and the blind can see. And I love that quote because it makes me think about how the world would be if we all just spoke more of that language. The second quote, a single dream is more powerful than 1,000 realities. And that one is from J.R.R. Tolkien, one of my all-time favorite writers. And as I indicated, one of the inspirers of my going into writing. And just all I can say is wise words for troubled times. If we can see it, if we can dream it, we can create it. And I just encourage us all to start dreaming big, beautiful thoughts, because we become what we dream.
Yes, well said. Very well said. Yeah, and just when you think about the seed, the kernel that can be created with just an idea or a dream, right? As long as there's a commitment to following it through, you know, what can be created as a result. You're also giving away a book. What will you be giving away today?
I'm going to be giving away 2 ebook editions of my novel, Wyndano's Cloak. I'll hold it up a little higher, that way you can see it. This is the cover for the hardback edition, which is available exclusively from me off my website. For the ebook edition, it actually has a different cover. It's all black with a girl sort of staring through the shadows with a sword in her hand. But I'll be giving away 2 ebook editions, gifting it over via Amazon.
Awesome. Okay, so everybody, you have 2 chances to win. So all you need to do to enter to win is to leave a comment in the section below, right there, and just leave a comment about the show, what you liked about it. As well, please leave your Twitter handle or a Facebook address so that we can easily get a hold of you once the winners are drawn, because most people don't pay attention to their YouTube messages. All right? Very good. Thank you so much. That's great. So now, the portion you've all been anxiously awaiting, for A.R. Silverberry share from this mysterious and intriguing novel of his. So anyway, if you would, before you read, set up the portion you'll be reading from just briefly, and then go ahead and share.
Well, it's easy to set it up because I'm going to read most of chapter 1. So you really don't need any setup beyond, and we'll go from there. The warning whispered in the leaves, rustling in a windless dawn. Jen always knew it would come, but the danger had drifted to the back of her mind like a fading nightmare, leaving only a vague clutching beneath the common activities of the day. The sheer cliff beyond beckoned. She looked away and exhaled, sighing with frustration and longing. That was when she heard the whispering. Alert, she backed away from the tree and studied it at a crouch. The air was still, the grass motionless, but the leaves stirred and fluttered. Words floated down. At first they were indistinct, as if someone called through a distant snowstorm. One word emerged clearly, and an icy finger traced down her spine. She heard her name. She backed away until she squatted on rocks that extended into the pool. Phrases whispered down. The only sense she could make was that something was coming, something dangerous. She thought of her family. Fear tightened around her heart. She was a hair's breadth away from running to them. Her feet stayed rooted to the spot. Maybe she'd hear more. A small splash made her look at the pond. 2 more followed, as if someone had thrown pebbles. Nothing had fallen into the water, but ripples spread out and ran into each other. More splashes erupted like tiny volcanoes until the whole pool was agitated with colliding rings. A circle of calm emerged below Jen's feet, pushing the waves back. Pale and ghostly, a face rose from the muddy bottom of the pool until it floated just below the surface. Little hills and valleys lined the features of an old woman, as if olives lay under the skin. Medlara. Jen spoke under her breath, unwilling to believe her friend could hear her. Medlara smiled, but her expression hardened. Words whispered from the pool. Jen leaned forward, straining to hear. She got little more than fragments, as if a storyteller jumbled the pieces of a tale. One phrase repeated like a riddle. If you meet a harp, you must If the worst happens, seek the answers. Jen dropped to her knees, hoping to catch more. Medlara's hands appeared just below her chin. She clasped them and lifted her eyes as if she were imploring Jen. She mouthed 2 words. They might have been, "Forgive me." Streaks of blue snaked and flowered in the water as if someone had dropped in dye. Tendrils of mist rose from the surface and licked the ring of rocks. Soon the whole pool was covered. Spilling over the edge, the cloudy vapor surrounded Jen. She backed onto the shore, but the stuff sprouted up on all sides, walling her in and forming a ceiling above. It crept along the ground until it met her feet. There it paused like an undulating sea. Jen studied the mist. She's trying to show me something. But what? There was no time to wonder. Fog rose before her like a giant shadow, black, forbidding. She stepped back, looked behind for an escape route. The fog surged forward and pulled her into the inky darkness. She could no longer feel the ground, as if everything solid and beautiful that she cared about was being ripped away. She tried to scream, but terror rose from the pit of her stomach and froze in her throat. The rest was a dizzy kaleidoscope of tilting and falling, of wandering lost, with no way out, no way home, no way back to a world of light and love, until the mist melted away and she collapsed, shaking in a pool of sweat. How long she lay there, she couldn't say, but at last she stopped trembling. Her heart slowed, and she gulped big breaths of air and rose. She staggered to the pool. It looked ordinary enough now. A handful of skeeter hawks glided peacefully on the surface. The morning sun of Airdom sparkled on the stream. A few birds sang in the tree. Shaking off numb shock, she splashed water on her face, wiped her hands on her breeches, and ran for King's Loop. She streaked through the fields and leaped onto the road where a few farmers were carting goods to market. Tearing past them, she was vaguely aware they stopped to bow to the king's daughter.
Oh, you're gonna leave us hanging there? Are you kidding me? Okay, that's just cruel and unusual punishment. Our guest author last week, YA fantasy author Wendy Wong, posed a trivia question for us.
My trivia question was, what is the dark curse that Harry Potter uses in the Half-Blood Prince? And the answer is Sectum Sempra, which he uses against Draco Malfoy.
AR, you have a trivia question for our listeners. What is it?
My trivia question is, what inspired Neil Gaiman to write the Graveyard Book?
Oh, that is an awesome question. I have no idea. Well, I have to say, so those of you listening, if you don't have an idea either, make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel, because certainly you don't want to miss the answer next episode when AR reveals the answer. Any final thoughts you'd like to leave with our listeners?
I would. I want to share something that happened at a book signing that I did for Wyndano's Cloak. I was at a Borders when there were Borders. Sadly, they're gone. But while I was there, there was this little girl whose brother came by my table. He was like maybe just 7, and he looked at the book and he talked and talked and talked, and he said, I really think my sister should come over here, but she was really shy. I could see her looking at the table, but she wouldn't come within 20 feet. Finally, he coaxes her over to the table, and I talked with her, and I read her a little vignette from the book, and finally she convinces her mom, to buy the book, and I sign it. And then I watched her. Maybe about an hour later, she comes off of the purchase line. She sits down near the door, right there on the floor, peels off the sticker that Borders puts on all of their books, clasps the book in her arms, and walks out the door.
Oh,
And
how
the
sweet.
reason why I wanted to share that is, why, I don't know why other writers write, I don't know why you write, but one of the reasons why I write is to touch readers' hearts. And I can die peacefully knowing I touched that little girl's heart.
Oh, that's sweet. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's great. Well, I hope you've enjoyed getting to know A.R. Silverberry, either version 1 or version 2. Just a little bit. As you know, I'm LRW Lee, author of the Andy Smithson Epic Fantasy Adventure Series. And if you haven't done so already, especially with Book 5 coming out, be sure to download a free copy of either Book 1, the ebook, which is Blast of the Dragon's Fury, or the prequel, which is Power of the Air's Passion. Both are available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Google Play for free.
Click the button to subscribe to the Book Nerd Paradise YouTube channel so you don't miss upcoming authors, giveaways, and answers to trivia questions.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I look forward to seeing you again next Monday.